Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Starladder Season 10 coverage. We're here with Day 10 of the EU Division, and we've got 3 games today, and we've got a couple of good ones. We're going to get things kicked off with xgame.kz versus NVMI, the Go Black team. But after this, we're going to see a double of Team Alliance. First, they'll be up against Empire, and then it will be Alliance versus Team Tinker. So buckle your seatbelts. We've got a lot of good Dota today. I'm Zyori, joined once again remotely by Mr. Blaze. David, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Just enjoying the new music for Dota 2 that they recently released. I've just been jamming out to that along with some other tunes on Spotify and such. And yeah, getting pumped for this little bit of Dota here. Like you said, game one might not
Reserve
be the
time.
most compelling of matchup compared to the other two, but it's still pretty interesting. Godblack here, he's essentially got his sandbox for drafting now with this team that, I mean, a lot of people regard as being pretty like competitive in their own right, and they definitely can take upsets off against the higher teams, but they aren't necessarily one of those higher tier teams. So if Godblack wants to do something a little bit different, then he has the opening to do that. In this case, he's not going to be banning out the Lycan, prioritizes the Tinker ban over that, essentially baiting them into the Lycan and then trying to answer back with Skywrath and Death Prophet. So we'll see what that can accomplish. Obviously, the Ancient Seal Concussive is pretty good at pinning down Lycan, but you have to get close in range for that.
Yeah, the double silence opener, we've seen this a couple of times now, and like it on Dire is still pretty scary, though, for X Game KZ, and they'll take their time actually burning through quite a bit of that reserve time, trying to figure out what they want to do to handle Team Silence, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good options there. BKB is certainly one of them, but it doesn't. Heroes that rely on BKB aren't going to be able to fight nearly as early as obviously those that don't. And Skywrath and Death Prophet are heroes that can put out a
Dire
tremendous
team
amount of
ban.
pressure in the early game, whether getting kills with Skywrath's skill set or in lieu of passivity, Death Prophet can just push down a bunch of towers. So not only are they going to be forcing them to go that route, but at the same time, in the time period when before those
10
items come out,
seconds
they're going to
remaining.
be absolutely dominant.
Yep, and glancing at the bets
5
here,
seconds
Go Black's
remaining.
team, wow, the fans have spoken, 78% in their favor, and only
Radiant team
22 for
ban.
X Game. So, all right, X Game KZ are actually not off to a great start in this group stage of Starlighter.
Mhm.
They are 1-6 right now, and NVMI are only 1-2. So we mentioned it yesterday, but they're still in that realm of not off to the best start, but with only a couple games under their belt, they could end up
10
placing
seconds
decently in
remaining.
this group stage if they keep on winning. So. A lot of incentive
5
for really
seconds
both
remaining.
teams, but I think Go Black's team in particular to take some quick wins wherever possible. But it will be the Shadow
Reserve
Shaman second
time.
pick for X Game KZ. So we see Team Silence versus Team Push, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you got the summons, you've got the ability to
Dire
just
team
destroy
ban.
towers, and actually I think it's going to be an interesting decision making from the Shadow Shaman where he decides to use his wards. Because most often you just say, okay, well, we got a tier 1 here, we'll bring that down. But if you just pick up one more push-oriented hero, you can actually save those Mass Serpent wards to pressure a tier 2, and that could give you a ton
10
of space to
seconds
take Roche very
remaining.
early on. So I actually think there's a more in mind behind the Shadow Shaman's
5
ultimate
seconds
usage this
remaining.
game when he's going to be using it for combat, win for push, and if it's even needed
Radiant
for
team
half of these
ban.
towers. Because, yeah, they are most often going to be drafting heroes that go along with that still with the push mentality. We saw a Pugna in WEC a little bit earlier today. Obviously, Jakiro has been a pretty popular pick in this tournament, and many other heroes
10
can fit
seconds
that bill
remaining.
as well. It's just the push meta, and they're probably going to be orienting
5
their strategy
seconds
based around that.
remaining.
Yeah, we even saw yesterday that there is such a thing as almost too much push synergy, where it was
Reserve
a
time.
four-hero push synergy lineup, and the Jakiro was one of them, though he didn't even really level Liquid Fire. I think he picked up a value point, but didn't max it out as we've seen quite a bit, because frankly, they just didn't need it between all of the Lycan Wolves, and I think there was a Death Prophet and maybe a Nature's Prophet as well. It was just ridiculous. The amount of pushing power they could put out even without liquid fire was pretty uncanny. That might have been the double dragon game, I think, with the Dragon Knight and the
Yeah,
Jakiro. So they were just melting. I might be confusing my Jakiro games now. We've seen a lot of push strats over the last
sure,
few
sure.
days.
Dire
It's
team
So
easy
ban.
to meld them all together. There has been a
yeah.
lot of Jakiro play. There's been a lot of interesting things. But yeah, we're going to see a lot of emphasis on ability usage and a lot of damage coming out of NVMI. This is actually pretty tame for a Godblack draft when we've been looking at other options where they try to go for like Drow orientations and compositions, stuff like that. In this case, they're going for what I would consider very common and something that many drafters would be looking
10
towards. The
seconds
Skywrath, Death
remaining.
Prophet, Doom, 3 silences, trying to gate all your abilities, and
5
hey, if you get a
seconds remaining.
cast-oriented Reliant team, then that's going to be problematic for you. So it kind of makes it difficult to draft up against. I think the Wraith King is a great choice,
Radiant
but
team pick.
beyond that, they don't have that many solid options. The bans there are pretty astute. The Bat Rider and the Furion also taken out. So X Game, these last two picks, in some capacity, are going to be having some issues. I mean, obviously the Shadow Shaman already isn't going to be getting his full shackles off. I pretty much guarantee that, unless they're like 2 or 3 versus 1. But all in all, it really just comes down to how they're going to be moving
10
across the map. If
seconds
they're going to get
remaining.
an initiator per se, like a Vengeful Spirit, and
5
where they go from
seconds
there.
remaining.
Yeah, and even a third silence here in that Doom
Reserve
ulti. But you're right,
time.
Go Black is usually a little more creative with his draft, as we've called him sometimes, the Mad Alchemist. And well, now he's thinking about it. Where does this draft want to go? You're certainly right about Wraith King, a good hero to deal with the Doom, one of the worst Doom targets out there, as he just comes back to life, assuming there's a reincarnate available. Now, in terms of the Lycan, we've seen Clockwork as a decent option to try and lock him down, and basically anybody that can keep him in place despite his movement speed is not a bad option. And I guess Go Black here will consider just that. What does he have in his arsenal to lock down the Lycan? And I'm struggling to remember how Go Black likes to run his Doom. Is this most likely to be a Radiant offlane Doom, or more likely a position 1? I think it'll probably be an Illidan Doom, no?
Yeah, it could go either way. DK Phobos has played it a couple of times, but Illidan is prone to it as well, so it is really hard to tell at this stage. I think the biggest trouble for Goblok right now is deciding
10
how to
seconds
best deal with
remaining.
potential level 1 Roshan. Banning out the Bat Rider and Furion is great, but still the Wraith King, Shadow Shaman, and
Dire
Lycan are
team
all
pick.
really good at just trying to go for that easy advantage outright. Jakiro fits in with the overall lineup,
Radiant
but also
team ban.
lends its hand to kind of what I was talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
in this, they definitely have to be aware of the presence of and potential of the Roshan, and they have to get one more pickup if they're going to be able to try invade and counter.
Yep, and even the Wraith King is a hero that
10
synergizes well with the
seconds
push, as we've
remaining.
seen with that Vampiric Aura. Gives you a little bit of extra sustainability.
5
And
seconds
between, I
remaining.
guess Jakiro so far is kind of that natural mech carrier, but they may grab someone who is a little more obvious
Dire
with this
team
5th
ban.
pick. It will be a tied final ban from Go Black. And yeah, that makes a fair bit of sense. Could have mid the Lycan, do either an aggro try or a safe lane try, and then Tidehunter could have flourished in one of those solo lanes and given them some really much needed team
10
fight right now.
seconds
X Game
remaining.
has some decent lockdown for single targets, but aside from Ice Path, they don't really have
5 seconds
much in the way of
remaining.
AoE stuns.
Viper's going to be an interesting ban
Radiant
here. I
team
don't really
pick.
think that that's something that NVMI would have really wanted to go for. It's still a very powerful hero, and maybe one that X Game would have had trouble with bringing down, but all in all, I just a Death Prophet Doom Viper. It just doesn't feel like they have the amount of control over the lanes that you'd expect from them. Even still, I guess if they're worried about something from Illidan, that could be among them. But I just see so many other options being more favorable for him, especially towards the late game. If they can just
10
delay the
seconds
push with
remaining.
their creep clear abilities, then they can try to hold it out and pick up something a
5
little bit
seconds
more
remaining.
scalable, I guess I could say. Ooh.
Whoa. Well, talk about
Dire
scalable.
team
The
pick.
Outworld's Devourer, and Go Black will not disappoint by keeping things interesting here. It's been a long time since I've seen an OD, and perhaps anticipating a possible Jakiro mid, if that's the choice. I feel like Lycan is a hero that is okay for dealing with the Outworld Devourer, especially just really any hero that has summons. The Wolves kind of tip the scales a little bit and give him some extra last hitting
10
power.
seconds
But
remaining.
OD is that lane dominator, and just interesting to
5
see him here. I
seconds
guess he could
remaining.
also just be in the safe lane, either him or Death Prophet. Most likely an off-lane Doom, but
Reserve
there's some
time.
flexibility with how they want to run Mr. OD.
Yeah, it definitely gives X Games some pause for thought of how they're going to deal with this and exactly what it's going to be bringing. One thing to mention is the spell spam coming out from Skywrath and Death Prophet. They're able to cast so many more spells based on the Essence Aura. They're just pretty much going to be always at full mana. And an unlimited Crypt Swarm Death Prophet is a scary thing to consider. So if she just builds a raw tank, her mana pool should be covered mostly when that aura is maxed out from OD.
10
And they may
seconds
have a little bit of
remaining.
a Death Ball of their own and create space for Sand King to buy that Blink Dagger pretty early.
5
So
seconds.
we'll see
Reserve
the Enigma
time.
come out for X Game. They have a lot of AoE damage now when you consider the
Radiant
fact that the
team
Jakiro can dump a lot into it, and the Shadow Shaman Ether Shock is a good follow through. Even the Mass Serpent Wards have splash damage, but you're probably not going to see them very frequently in the fights. As far as level 1 Roche, they could actually turn one of the wolves into Eidolons, so if they are going to be going for that, there is a lot of potential, but let's see how NVMI would handle it.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice and a greedy one at that. This could possibly even be a lane Enigma, as we saw the other day. And it might have to be, unless they want to do a core Jakiro. So there is a bit of flexibility for X Game. I want to say there isn't an obvious off-laner, but Enigma could handle the off-lane, especially depending how NVMI choose to lane this. If they decide to go aggro try, that could be good news for Enigma headed to the off lane. But both sides, a little bit difficult to predict. It will be an Illidan Outworld Devourer, so he will be on the position 1. Scandals on the Death Prophet. That will most likely be your mid-hero. And as you mentioned, DK Phobos will be headed to the off lane, and he'll take point on the Doombringer. So there you have it.
Very interesting indeed. Illidan does have a good history on Outworld Devourer when he was very prevalent in the metagame. That was actually one of his go-to picks. Essentially, whenever they were able to get it out of the draft and it wasn't like first phase banned, he was the one that was playing it for his team. So that's been a long time, but obviously you just need to pedal a few times and you'll get right back on that bike. So we'll see how he plays it out, and if it is indeed going to be in the solo mid. Up against Jakiro, it dominates for the first few levels, but eventually the points in Liquid Fire win out, and it actually, like around level 5, level 6 and 7, Jakiro actually is able to hold his own very well with that pretty much mana-independent scalable harassment. So that's assuming that it is a solo Jakiro, but as you mentioned, it's probably just going to be, to make sure that their lanes are as strong as possible, like an aggressive tri-lane with Lycan and Enigma as the solos.
Yeah, with Wadafaka on the Lycan, I think it stands to reason he will be headed to the mid, and Stallcat will probably just be solo safe lane on the Enigma, and that will go pretty well for him, I think. Pretty fat chance NVMI will aggro try with an OD, so they'll probably be headed down to the bottom, and Enigma versus Doom, they should both be able to farm pretty well. Enigma has some last-hitting prowess with all those Eidolons, but mana sustainability can become a little bit of an issue, so will be an interesting lane up top, but all things considered, I think they'll both find at least a baseline of farm, and shouldn't be too bad for Mr. DK Phobos. But alas, we are stuck in a pause here, Blaze. Per usual. I guess while we're stuck here, good time to update y'all about the Alliance NVMI game from yesterday, where we were having some pretty serious issues loading in the replay and what have you. There is no update, folks. Y'all been tweeting at me like crazy. Don't worry, I will let you know when I know. There has not been an official ruling on if it's going to be rescheduled, replayed, or what's going on with that. Last update was that Starladder was going to work with Valve with that particular match ID to figure out why that game in particular wouldn't load on any of the servers, to find out if the replay was corrupted and if there's anything that they can do about it. Obviously, it was a pretty close game towards the end. It seemed like Alliance was going to take it, and, well, there is just no official ruling yet. So patience is a virtue, and you'll have to exercise some of that here today in Starladder, EU Day 10.
Yep, so we're going to see the movement of NVMI to try to contest what could be a level 1 Roche, but turns out that that's not going to be the case. Just will be a wandering Wraith King saying hello, and yeah, Godblack knows that there's nothing to worry about here. It actually would have been a really powerful Roche attempt if they went for it, but they also were very well at that. NVMI would have seen it coming. Godblack, he keeps all those things in the back of his head, and in this case here, it's not going to have any chance. They're not even going to go for it. So we do see down on bottom lane, the boots first Jakiro. Is Stallcat trying to duo offlane this? I mean, he's going to get his lane pulled back by the Enigma. He's going to demonic convert one of the creeps when it spawns, and he'll be heading to the jungle. So indeed, it does seem like it is going to be a suicide Jakiro.
All right, and yes, suicide to the fullest extent of the definition for this lane here. Stallcat will have his work cut out for him, and this is, we talked yesterday about how versatile Jakiro is, and we've seen basically every build imaginable, every ability given priority, but this is not one we've seen, a off-lane Jakiro. Looks like Reeves will be hanging out with him for now before he drops that conversion and might just end up staying in the lane. Mid, it will indeed be Wadafaka on Mr. Lycanthrope, and that puts two heroes in the top lane, equal on the Shadow Shaman and Mantis on that position 1 Wraith King. Already a rotation from Go Black, finds an invisibility rune at the 0-0 mark, and this will not be an easy first blood, but they'll at least be able to do some damage to Wadafaka, and he is pretty low on regen here.
Okay, so
the concussive, there's your Burrow Strike. Maybe this will be a first blood after all as the Crypt Swarm connects, and Lil will draw the bonus gold as Skywrath finishes him off.
So Reeves is actually going to be going for the Ancient play here. With Howl, it's a little bit faster, but you still see how quickly those demonic conversions, they die. And Hal Reeves is practically going to die himself. Like, he has to be extremely careful how he proceeds. The one great thing about this is it's like a Lich sacrifice. It continuously takes away from the OD's lane, but even still, it's nowhere near as efficient as the jungle, which, as we can see on the map, hasn't been warded at all. No contest there. Could be free farm, could be moving like level 2.5 right now, but instead he's barely alive and just trying to take down one Ancient camp.
Yeah, this is a little bit awkward out of X Game. We've brought this point up quite a bit, but worth reiterating here that one of the great things about Enigma, especially as a mech carrier, is how quickly he can farm in the jungle. I would say the fastest jungle farmer in Captain's mode. And usually a good rule of thumb is experience-wise, he can keep up with the mid laners blow for blow. So Death Prophet 3.5 right now. It stands to reason Reeves could be just about on point, and instead he's halfway through level 1. Desperately trying to finish off the small little rumble hide here, but it is a difficult life for this Blueberry and his little Eidolon friends. He will be able to finish off the second one, and does ding level 2. But I feel like this trade-off is just not worth it.
Yeah, that's very awkward. I mean, I thought they were going to try to go with some mass synergy with the Howl, but they only used it once, even though Lycan is maxing Howl. He has only used it once, too, in his farm, and you can still benefit from it in your own jungle. You don't have to be on Ancients to benefit from the Demonic Conversion Howl combo, so... Yeah, it's really weird. Finally, he makes his way back that direction. He sees that it has, in fact, been an empty jungle, but in the meantime, they've lost 2 lives, and he has pretty much been able to accomplish absolutely nothing. Jakiro TPing back down bottom. He is just got to be constantly on the defensive and at least behind this line here, because a single concussive hits, especially from this recently regenerated Lil, and you're just going to be dead in 2 seconds flat.
Yeah, and looking at Dire Vision, they do have wards around the bottom lane, but bottom rune coverage and then the pull camp area here. Not blocking it, but just giving some intel into the camp. So that gives him some vision as to where the supports are, but this is the big scary area right here that's completely dark, and he really just can't afford to roll the dice and press forward if he doesn't have vision on really both the supports. If the Skywrath is missing and right there to wrap around, Sand King is got boots and he can be there in the fray pretty quickly. So needless to say, OD is off to the races here, and he is farming quite well. Even with those few denied creeps, actually still a few up on Mantis. He's having an okay time in the top lane. They are putting a lot of pressure on the DK Phobos, but he has found a fair bit of experience, almost level 4, and did pick up a Wild Wing Ripper with that first Devour, so has a little bit of extra armor, which is making his life that much easier.
Does look like the Jakiro will be able to steal up one of the creeps from the low ground to the high ground using his abilities there. He does have ward vision due to the one placed out by Stallcat there. Or sorry, Reeves there. But nevertheless, it's not really going so well for them in the early phase. We look at Lil, and he's going to be stacking up for the 4th time this camp in the central position, and that allows this Sand King to just get out of control so darn fast. He's very quickly approaching level 3, and from there, he's just going to jump up to practically level 5 with all the farm this jungle will get him.
Yep, absolutely right. And it's even more efficient where Sand King is doing the pulling in the lane, so he's finding farm in other places. Now he'll be able to retreat back to this big stack. He's already level 3, so that'll be that second point in Sandstorm he needs. And the dance party will commence as he'll be well on his way to a quick Blink Dagger. I think the biggest problem for X Game, aside from this Jakiro, is the mid lane. Scandal is 28-9 versus the 7-1 Whatafaka Lycan. He is getting completely dominated right now. Death Prophet is giving him the ghosts. Well, actually, not literally, but she's hitting him with the chips, man. This is just a disastrous mid lane. And sure, he was the victim of the first blood, but now he's in trouble. He comes in, gets the silence, and that's just an easy kill for NVMI. Scandal will get another one on the scoreboard and further his dominance here in the mid lane. Has an invisibility rune, now hits level 6. There is a smoke rotation from X Game. Equal and Reeves on their way down bottom, but they're already behind by a pretty decent margin for only 5 minutes into this match.
Yeah, and Reeves and Equal try to go for a smoke movement, but that's not going to be lasting long. And even if they did get their disables onto Illidan here, there's a bunch of creeps. There's not really much damage coming after them right now. And yeah, this is just ill-advised in general. Whatafaka has got 3 points in the Howl here, so he will be able to help out his teammates from a global range, especially their summons in particular, but he himself isn't able to do too much. Like, the wolves are not going to allow him to... The level 1 wolves are not going to allow him to push the tier 1 tower. He can control runes, and he can watch the creeps die, but that's about it.
Yeah, I've got very little to add to that. But, well, it looks like X Game will try to make something out of this rotation and pressure the bottom tower, but Enigma just now hits level 5, so it does have That 3rd point in demonic conversion equal. Not level 6 quite yet. Liquid Fire will start getting spammed on the tower. Jakiro with 2 points in it, sitting level 4, and even a value point in dual breath here. Interesting choice, as he does drop his whole mana pool, and they do some decent damage to this tower. But will it be enough to actually secure the kill? Mid lane, Lycan taking a lot of damage. Scandal hits him with a Crypt Swarm. Won't have enough for the kill, but still harassing back this Lycan pretty damn effectively, continuing that last hit disparity. Oh, Illidan down bottom, gets hit by Malphus, but throws out the Astral Imprisonment there. Almost called it Disruption. Now they go in onto Reeves. Ice Path through. Go Black. Does get turned into a chicken, but they won't persist. And oh, wow, the other shock actually enough to bring down the Skywrath Mage. So they do find a stray kill, and that will be the first kill of the game on the board for X Game. But this Astral Imprisonment, man, crippling the mana pool of this Enigma right now.
Yeah, he does have a Soul Ring, so he can still keep spamming out, but the Intelligence trade makes it so that Illidan's ultimate will do a ton of damage if they connect. Gonna look for a Burrow Strike into Sunny's Eclipse very soon, but I think they need one more to TP in for this one.
Yep, and they'll do it. That's that 3rd stack of intel that Illidan was waiting for, and he may just come to drop the hammer. A nice Ice Path will delay them, but only slow them down. They ping out Reeves as he moves to the side. Scandal with the ultimate online will connect with the Crypt Swarm. Another Astral Imprisonment. Go Black taking some damage here, but will have the dance party to stay alive for now. Reeves will be in trouble around the backside. Go Black secures the kill onto Equal. It will cost him his life, but it's a 1-for-2 trade. And now they'll go in on to Stallcat. Ultimate still available for Illidan, but I don't think he'll want to burn it. Never mind. He'll use it just for the solo Jakiro. And it will end as a 1-for-3 as NVMI take another very successful team fight.
Yeah, that works out for them. They get all the high-value targets. Mantis on top lane will do some damage to DK Phobos, but won't be able to bring him down, even with a couple lucky crits. He's got that HP regen and enough to speed him away here. Godblack is going to go in the mid lane here, just Sandstorm in front of the tower to avoid any real push that could commence, and yeah, that's going to bring him to level 6 range. I guess he'll skill Epicenter on 6 since he is that close to Blink Dagger, and might be able to use it pretty soon around the level 7 mark.
Yep. And about 1,500 gold up on him, so 8 minutes. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty decent blink timing, and he hasn't had just unlimited time in the jungle to farm away, but he's been pretty active. 0, 1, and 2. Down bottom lane, he was pulling, he was helping out the lane, and there he did assist in those kills quite a bit. X Game will be unrelenting in their pressure on this bottom tier 1 tower, though. Radiant side do have a glyph. Scandal has an ultimate cooling down in about 15 seconds, and this will not be an easy push for the Dire side. They may be able to stick around and commit something to it to continue taking it low. There's a Black Hole available, but I think NVMI will come to its defense if they try to overcommit for it, especially with an Exorcism coming up in that 4th point in Witchcraft. Scandal is eager for a fight. Mid-tier 1 tower did go down as well while all that was happening. I'm not sure. I guess before Scandal TP'd down when we were watching that skirmish, he did finish off the tower. So that will even further the gold lead that much more. 4,000 gold, 2,000 experience already for Go Black's team.
Yeah, I mean, especially on the 2 main heroes that you wanted on 4,200 net worth on Scandal, over 4K on the Outworld Devourer. He's going to be very active indeed. DK Phobos does pop out the Doom onto Reeves, and we'll just walk away with that Scorched Earth and Unholy Aura to keep him up. Reeves looks to survive, though. He's still getting the benefit of the lifesteal that comes out from the Wraith King Aura, and he will just barely come out on top of that. So one more set of Eidolons, he'll back off, and they should be able to push down this tower.
Yep, smart play from the Doombringer, though, with the Black Hole available. Usually you'll see Enigmas use that first one just for a solo kill, create some space in the lane, and then it makes it a very easy tower push. And they almost bring it down by their lonesome. Mantis takes a Burrow Strike from Go Black, and will actually take a lot of damage from the Sandstorm as well. Survives with just about 60 hit points to spare. Has a Reincarnate, but only at level 1. It is that super long duration cooldown there. So he'll be forced to TP home, and their push will be quelled once more. So the pushing team really having trouble knocking down these towers. We've got the side lane tier 1s very low on HP, but getting them low and finishing them off are completely different stories.
Yeah, the only one that's willing to purchase detection right now on the side of X Game is the Shadow Shaman, and he's been on bot lane for the most part, even using one to just de-ward on the bottom lane, trying to negate any wandering eyes there. But in either case, yeah, the Sand King's able to pretty much always go in for the Sandstorm under the tower and go for the counter push that way, and it's very effective against creep waves, against wolves. The only thing that can stop it is the Ice Path and the Midnight Pulse, which Enigma hasn't even skilled yet.
Yeah, very true. And Illidan has now picked up a mech, basically his first item, following Power Treads. So, good news for him. Down bottom, Equal gets initiated upon. Crypt Swarm to finish him off. Ends up being another easy one up on the scoreboard. For NVMI, Scandal now sitting 2-0-3 as he gains even more momentum. Just a little bit of experience shy of level 10. And well on his way to a Yule Scepter, if that's the item route he wants to go.
Ooh, they're going to get Godlike, though.
Sand King in some trouble. Will Burrow strike back, but does get dusted, so the Sandstorm will only do so much here. Black Hole is available. I think Reeves wants to save it, but will be forced to use it. And I don't know, with that Wraithfire Blast coming up, might have been able to hold on to that long cooldown. But regardless, they will get the Sand King, and they will find a Tier 1 tower kill. TP in from DK Phobos, has an ultimate available, puts it out onto Reeves. Will take a Wraithfire Blast, but in comes Illidan, and Reeves is certainly going to fall here. Perhaps looking for a deny on himself with the Eidolons, but can't find it there, and he will fall.
Still very well worth it, as they delayed the Sand King's Blink Dagger, only 100 gold off. Now Mantis TP's down bottom, has Reincarnate, but probably wants to use a stun here. So they're trying to pursue. Lil able to kite away with that concussive, and it looks like he'll be just fine. Very quick on his feet, but with the Liquid Fire, a couple right clicks, at least they will get the Tier 1 tower down here. So that's 2 towers. Oh, the deny! Lil from max range, the minimum potential, but he will get it, and he'll slip right away.
Yeah, sneaky little plays there from the Skywrath Mage, but it proves effective. Total tower count is 2-1, but that deny does help tip the scales that much more. And again, glancing at the graph, xgame get back-to-back towers, but it kind of just plateaus the gold gain for NVMI. It doesn't really give them too much more momentum in their favor. Certainly that gold boost will help make some recovery. We'll see Lycan finally find his Vladimir's offering just shy of the 12-minute mark. Not the best timing, but given how slow he started off in the lane, this is a decent recovery. And now once he grabs the medallion, of course, Roche will be an option for him, especially on the Dire side. But NVMI, I think, sooner rather than later, will group up and really commence the team fighting, perhaps just waiting for this Blink Dagger on the Sand King. And after he finishes off this stacked up hard camp here, he should have more than enough gold. Just a big old Centaur and this Satyr Tormentor, all that are waiting equal. Maybe looking to snipe this last hit, but just leeching experience for now. And then taking a fair bit of damage from the Sandstorm also. Needs to be kind of careful. Yeah. If there was a ward or a rotation, Sand King could pop up and kill him. Of course, he is in fog right now.
Yeah, the fog vision essentially makes it impossible for Equal to actually either shock down one of those big creeps right when he wants to, and it's very unfortunate, because that would have been a nice snipe to take away the Blink Dagger from SK, but instead, he picks it up, he has that Epicenter available, and although they see it on their Observer Ward, that doesn't mean they have the tools to deal with it right now. Trying to roam into the enemy jungle, they'll go for a big flank, but will they even get the pick off here? Hex to start.
Yep, Go Black walks right into him. He's picked up the blink, so even if he dies here, it's not the end of the world. Does get off a Burrow Strike. In comes Scandal, pops the ultimate. It'll be a dead Reeves to get things started. Mantis will go down shortly after, and a Doom out on Stallcat. Equal will fall, but he manages to get the wards off. They trap Scandal in the trees, but they'll just get cleaned up here, and I think Scandal will still survive. Mantis?
No, he's totally trapped here. He can't get out at all. He's trying, and they get the mechanism on him. If the mech wasn't there, he would have died, but he barely lives, just over 240 HP.
Yep. So, there you go. Not the team fight that xgame we're looking for. Lycan will go up top and continue pushing, and the Tier 1 tower in the mid lane does go down. Jakiro gets the last hit for it. But still a pretty sour exchange. They even managed to bring down the Wraith King twice. Kind of a break even in gold with the tower difference, but a huge experience jump for NVMI as they continue to gain momentum. And now Yule's Scepter is complete on the DP, who has also hit level 11, meaning that Exorcism hurts so much more.
Definitely. Still really cute with that ward trap. Usually when you trap somebody like in the middle of the Mass Serpent wards, they only have to kill off 1 ward and they're gone. But in that case, he was trapped in by 3, and his phase boost had just been on cooldown. His Yules had just been on cooldown, so it was actually pretty difficult to dig him out of there. But in the end, they mech him up. He'll survive. And now Godblack's going in with a Blink Appy, but he can't connect. He just gets the slow and a little bit of magic damage.
Yeah, just tickles on Mantis right now. The Macro Pyre comes out, but a defensive Astral doing some pretty serious work here. Nice Force Staff on to Go Black. It was just picked up by Illidan, and that will keep them all alive. There is a mech now on the Jakiro, so a mech on both sides of the coin puts xgame in slightly better fighting shape. Illidan goes in for 1 more Astral, and now he will be forced to back out. Just trying to steal as much int as he can, as he does have that level 2 Sanity's Eclipse, and ready to drop the hammer if need be. Now xgame move into the Roche Pit, looking at Radiant Vision. They do have a ward on the high ground here, and they are well aware that Big Wolfie is now going into Big Roshan.
He has no shapeshift too. This is really bad for him.
Yep, down bottom they will find Mantis. Doom comes out. They know he doesn't have a reincarnate, and they will commit to this. Exorcism used as well. Blade Mail's already been popped. And, well, maybe they won't chase him down. Tower falls. Equal goes for the ward trap again. But this time it is just sort of in vain as he falls, and the tower goes down as well. On the other side of the fight, we did miss Lycan getting picked off by the Sand King and OD. Now they'll find Stallcat, and they'll be able to bring him down as well. Mech or no mech, Jakiro will not be able to take the heat, and he will fall. Oh, man, things just falling apart for X Game here, Blaze. The golden experience lead just continues to further for NVMI as they continue to gain momentum around the map.
Yeah, the ultimates from X Game just have been rather ineffectual. The reincarnate didn't really accomplish all that much. The shapeshift was on cooldown when like it needed it most. You really can't go for a rush play like that without your ultimate available. Beyond that, we've seen a couple mass serpent wards that, for the most part, they've gotten close to killing people, but they've just been farmed up for the most part, and we have yet to see but one black hole. The black hole on Sand King did set him back a tiny bit, but he's Sand King. He bounces back. He's a really good farmer, and in this case, he's going to be pulling ahead in net worth. He's going to be tied up with the Lycan pretty soon, the way things are going.
Yeah, and that is always a scary statistic to consider. Lycan really did have it rough, though. Victim of the first blood, and they did gank him once over at least. Now he'll move back into this Singleton Ancient Thunderhide from earlier on in the game. The Enigma was never able to finish him off, so this will even bottleneck Whatafaka that much more now, as he was hoping to have some Ancients to retreat to. We'll be disappointed to find less farm than anticipated. Now OD finds a double damage rune from the bottom position, and perhaps hungry for blood, but won't find the kill they were looking for. Whatafaka moves into the Roche pit. He did smoke up this time, so it is kind of a sneaky play. Sand King is inbound. Will Go Black scout it out? Doesn't look like it. They have their sights set on the bottom lane. Doom out onto Stallcat, and maybe they'll chase him down, but there is some support coming in. Now Mantis is here, pops his blade mail. We'll finish off the Sky Wrath. Go Black comes in, gets off the Epi, and Equal connects with some shackles. There's your black hole. Go Black will fall in the black hole, and DK Phobos should get clicked down here. It's a 2-for-2 trade. Right now, Phobos still alive. We'll be able to blink back to safety, but what's most important here is space being created for the Lycan. Roche falling pretty quickly, and still just no one contesting it. Illidan pressuring the Tier 1 or Tier 2 tower in the mid, and Scandal killing the Tier 1 in the top. So a lot of trading of objectives around the map right now, but I think X Game will find a decent trade in a 2-for-2, and Lycan finally finishes off Roche.
Yeah, this one they're very much happy about. We're going to see the Tier 1 fall, but we've seen that exchange happen plenty of times for the Radiant up against the Roshan, and 17 minutes in, it's later than they wanted it to, but better late than never, they get the Aegis. So getting that fight successful on the bottom lane, as well as just being able to control things elsewhere and make space for that Roche, that puts them back on the map. I'm not sure if it's enough to put them in the game because of how well NVMI have been playing, but it's certainly their best bet.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yep, that's for sure. Looking at the graphs again, plateauing, but this is the biggest problem with X Game. It seems like they're either losing or breaking even just based on the graph, and they still haven't taken one of those huge turnaround team fights with a big black hole or something like that where they can really regain some momentum this game, and it's just all about catch-up. Even looking at last hits, OD and Death Prophet right around that 115 mark, and the leading farmer on the Dire side is Wraith King at only 90. Then after that, it's an even bigger drop-off around 70, 75 for the Lycan and the Enigma. So there is a pretty big disparity just in the way of raw last hitting and farming, as the Radiant side have had so much momentum around the map, and just a lot more space as well. Gem of True Sight picked up by Lil's Sky Wrath, so they will grab a little bit more map controls. They smoke up. They find Mantis. We'll throw an Arcane Bolt. Enigma.
Oh, what's that blade mail?
Blink to the high ground, and yeah, Mantis pops his blade mail a little premature there. He does have a reincarnation, so perhaps he'll survive the first die and then survive the second onslaught. But in comes the team fight now. Reeves, no black hole available on him, and Astral Imprisonment will keep the wolf trapped. It is just a dead Sand King, so NVMI are on the back foot, and it looks like they will be able to survive with only losing their Sand King unless Reeves blinks forward. Malefice out onto Lil. There's the follow-up from Equal. They will clear the trees and reveal the rest of NVMI on the other side of the tree line, and it will be a 2-0. So there you go. Finally, a very good team fight for X Game where they take no losses, and it's nothing but positives.
Yeah, very nice move from them. I still have to commend Illidan's defensive play. The way he's been using this Force Staff mechanism and defensive imprisonments have been really good for just in general keeping them from taking further losses. But nevertheless, X Game, they're a good team to chase with all these Blink Daggers now, at least the one in the Enigma, which is pretty huge, and even Shadow Charm has been able to pick his up as well. So taking the Gem of True Sight away from the Sky Wrath, getting those kills and kind of taking control back over the enemy jungle. That's what's going to put them back in the game. Other than that, they just need Whatafaka to do his thing with split push and make use of that Aegis within the next few minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Aegis is pretty close to expiration, but even the Lycan hasn't found too much item progression since he finished off Roche. It's just sitting on the Medallion Vlads and only 900 gold in the bank. Really not too many places he can go with such a small amount of income there. OD continuing to get huge, though. Has his Mystic Staff and another 1,000 gold to spare. Most likely a Scythe of Vice coming out for him, and really not too far off the money. How's Doombringer doing in terms of his farm? DK Phobos just going straight into a BKB now following that Blink Dagger. Nothing too crazy about this build, but still farming very well. Did pick up that early hand of Midas. So as this game continues to go on, he will, of course, feel the benefits of that Midas and start to resemble a bit more of a carry. Scandal with a plate mail and a vitality booster, probably looking for a Shivas and then eventually a heart, but very well-rounded DP build here. Has some decent HP, some great armor, great mobility, and, well, just very well-rounded in general.
Yep, Shiva's coming out on the courier for her, and the Scythe being finished up on OD, both at the same time, makes a lot of potential later in. Right now we're going to see some engagement on top, but the Blink Stun isn't enough to get anybody else in range because of that Force Staff. So yeah, when they get the Hex, the Shivas, and Doom's BKB, they are just an absolute fighting force, and it's going to be very difficult for XGame to even consider 5-banding against that. They're going to have to resort to ratting, a little bit of Lycan here, a little bit of Mass Serpent Wards there, and just try to avoid that clash until the Enigma has his own BKB.
Yeah, it looks like XGame will group up about the top lane, looking to pressure this Tier 2 tower. Radiant do have a Glyph, and all of their big cooldowns available, so they are certainly in fighting form and ready to make a hold. DP just shy of level 16, but her ultimate's still quite potent nonetheless. Go Black will channel an Epi. They set up on the Jakiro. He gets silenced, pops his mech, but actually does survive the initial rotation of damage. They will resort to right clicks to bring him down. Go Black falls, and now Scandal decides to pop the ultimate, but there's a Blade Mail onto Mantis. Out come the Rasta Wards, and he'll just back on up. No reason to fight inside of those. And that will basically be a wasted Rasta cooldown from Equal.
Yeah, and it's the armor that really keeps Scandal up this whole time. He's still sitting fine at 500 HP. Doesn't have a great way to regen it up right now, but if you can use it temporarily as bait, here comes DK Phobos from the side. He's got that blink. They've got the disables, and they're going to pop Mantis at least once. I don't know. I mean, they have the Doom. They could try to commit for the second one, but I'm not sure if they get it.
Yep, up top there's a black hole, and we'll switch to that one. They'll try and finish off Illidan, and he pops his mech, 4 stabs away, but it's just not enough. He will fall. Meanwhile, down in the bottom lane, Mantis with the Doom online. Is he in trouble here? He's certainly in trouble, but will get mech'd up, and he will survive. Macropyre flies, not enough to bring down the Skywrath, but Lil comes in and will finish off the Shadow Shaman with a Skywrath Mage. It does, or pardon me, with a Mystic Flare. It does cost him his life, but at least finds a one-for-one trade down in the bottom lane, following that initial kill onto the Wraith King, proccing his ultimate. Top lane, it will just be a 1-for-0 for the Dire side. Go Black is pressing forward, finds Whatafaka farming away on this hard camp. But not too much chance of a kill there, and he will just back it on out. So they do slow down the OD, though, and that is certainly good news for the Dire side, of course, delaying that Hex stick just a bit longer.
The Aegis will break here. The Doom didn't really want to spend his first BKB charge and his big ulti there, but he kind of just felt like they could manage it if they got this second concussive slow from the Skywrath Mage. Fortunately, the reinforcements from XGame were there. So in this position, it still just kind of comes down to status quo. Like, the experience graph is up and down a little bit, but pretty much the same state of affairs until everybody starts collaborating, and that's going to be when Illidan finishes that Hex. Very close to it now, but has to decide if he just wants to spend the 1,200 unreliable he has, or go for the full buyout.
Yep. And Go Black still hasn't had too much item progression, but hanging on to that Blink Dagger now finds level 11. So Epicenter is a next tick higher, and Scandal just now hits 16. 2 big ultimates that become a lot more potent as you start to level them up, and NVMI will be looking for possibly a skirmish here as they group up in the mid lane. Doom ultimate available, has that pack leader's aura as well as the critical strike, so they really are just in fighting form right now. They know it, and they also know that Black Hole is stuck on cooldown, as is the Reincarnate, only for another 40 seconds, but still 2 key abilities that will not be available for a little duration. Tier 2 tower in the mid lane falls, no glyph used, no defense mounted, and it will just be a free gold boost here for NVMI. We'll see where they go from here. Considering their options, pressing towards the high ground with an Exorcism, they could possibly do some okay damage to this Tier 3 tower, but seems like a risky proposition, and they'll agree as they back out, clear out the Dire jungle a little bit, and just go back to farming.
Yeah, if they had tried to go for the Tier 3, not only would they not have been able to take it, but Lycan would have just taken the Tier 2 in trade. So they go in for a little bit of counter push, force Whatafaka back, and they're happy with that Tier 2. The fact that they were able to get that, it means that Roche is much more under their control than it was before, as xgame just can't reinforce the Lycan if he tries to go for a solo play again. They also get a nice aggressive ward down to see rotations from mid into the jungle, and in general, this is just going to give them a better understanding of where to approach. Still a little bit more farm required for the OD. It looks like he's just going to buy the ultimate orb from the side drop, and that will be the full Scythe of Life for him.
Yeah, and speaking of item progression, Mr. Phobos here moving towards an Assault Cuirass, has the Chainmail and a Hyperstone on the Courier, and always a great item when there's a DP on your team. Great item on Doom as well. We've talked about his armor issues quite a bit in the past here, Blaze, but all that minus armor will buff up DP's damage quite a bit. Go Black down bottom, gets initiated upon by Equal, turned into a chicken, the Stretch Armstrong shackles, and a Wraithfire Blast, but Illidan is there with the defensive Astral. As soon as he pops out, gets dropped, in comes the Death Prophet, ulti in tow. DK Phobos coming in, and Reeves will take the Doom ultimate. Has the ultimate available, the Black Hole, so smart target to Doom. Scandal taking a lot of damage, though. Will bring down the Lycan. It's a close call, but it's just not enough. Now around the other side, Shadow Shaman falls. Stallcat will be in some trouble. Throws out a Macro Pyro Ice Pass, but it's just not enough. And it will end up being a 4-for-0 trade. They almost bring down the DP, but the Lycan just too damn squishy at this stage of the game, and Scandal survives by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, showing the value of that Vitality Booster plus Shiva's Guard combo. That is just enabling him to tank through everything. And although the fight started off a little off-kilter, the disables were already expended, so when they reinitiated, they had the upper hand on that one. We're going to see Lil take a few shots, but Illidan's Arcane Orb one-shots these wolves because of the fact that they are summoned units. So
Dire's courier has been killed.
Dire's Courier will be picked off in one of the weirder spots just by the mud golems here in the jungle. I don't know exactly what it was doing there, but I guess he was just trying to get it out and didn't take the right path. Either way, it is gunned down, and although that's not that consequential with them on the defensive close to home, it still is a minor nuisance while they push in on the bottom tier 2.
Yep, and also the gem exchanged hands once again. NVMI pick up their gem that they had originally picked up and lost, so another even bigger net worth swing in that fight. Scandal initiated upon here. He does not have an Exorcism. Go Black with an Epicenter, but he's also the gem carrier, and he's in a sticky situation. Will be able to burrow strikes to semi-safety. Has another Sandstorm up in a second, but takes a stun. And all right, forget everything I said about that gem as it goes right back over to Team X Game.
Yep, so they'll pick that up. They might even see this Observer Ward on the high ground, but for right now, their main focus is Roshan, and they're going to be looking to take that down without having to worry about that Epicenter. The Instantaneous Eclipse is also one of those very long cooldowns, and it's not going to be available for this fight, so they have to be very careful who they hex, who they doom, and who they focus with the Exorcism.
Exorcism deployed as Roche falling very quickly. They'll need to move into the pit if they want to actually contest it and maybe snatch the Aegis. Beautiful Black Hole from Enigma. Pulls him onto the high ground as the Macro Pyre doing so much damage here. Both Scandal falls and almost the OD, but does survive for now. Roche goes down to the dire side, and the Aegis does get picked up by the Lycan, I believe. Shadow Shaman gets the big streak end there, but Reeves will fall to the Doom ultimate. And still X Game get cleaned up. What a fucker, the only one left standing with the Aegis in tow. Not exactly what NVMI had in mind, but they'll take it as they trade a 2-for-4. Now what a fucker. Gets isolated by Illidan, and this will probably be a dead Aegis. Illidan being very cautious here and actually won't overcommit for it. And will just back out. He is holding the gem very low on HP. One can understand why he played that one a little bit more defensively.
Yeah, no, he's extremely low. I was impressed that he even went for it in the first place. But in the end, just nips him on the bud. Whatafaka will retreat back, pick up the BKB, so he's not taking so much damage from Sky and OD. Even the Sand King is a good one to pick it up against if he is really quick on the reflexes. But no matter the case, that Roche going in favor of Whatafaka helps him out quite a bit, but as a whole, like, that's the best Black Hole you can hope for, and the fact that they couldn't follow up the damage really hurts.
Yep, Stallcat just gets jumped upon down bottom, juiced in a couple of seconds with that level 2 Mystic Flare. And now Mr. Sand King is actually not too far away of a Veil of Discord, an item that will be quite potent once it comes out onto the field. And also DP now with a Heart of Tarrasque. We were talking about how tanky she is before, now up to about 2,500 HP. And whoa, Illidan, he's in pretty deep here. Whatafaka in trouble, will take the hammer. And will get chopped down. Now Phobos coming in. Enigma pops his BKB, but will just get chopped down by the Doom as the godlike streak continues. Now Whatafaka. BKB on. Big Wolfy form. Defensive Astral will keep the OD alive, and the BKB will keep Lycan alive. Ends as an Aegis and Enigma kill in exchange for pretty much nothing. Just a little bit of sweat on the brow of all Illidan Storm Rage there.
But now XGame have absolutely nothing. The BKB and Shapeshift are both on cooldown. They cannot hold this high ground. They'll commit the Mass Serpent Wards, equal going, looking for the flank, but no matter the case, they're up against this epicenter, and it's going to hurt.
Yes, sir. Go Black catches Equal off to the side. He won't even be able to use his Mass Serpent Wards. They will put him in an Astral, buy a little time there.
And it actually, the blink.
It actually saves him.
Illidan.
I don't know what that was just a freebie right there. Maybe maybe Shadow Shaman's birthday is right around the corner, and that was just an early present. I don't know what's going on with that one. But regardless, it will be enough to delay the push. And yeah, they get the Tier 3 tower, but they don't get racks. I think NVMI will still be okay with their spoils there. And they will just rotate bottom and probably will secure this Tier 2 tower. XGame making a movement forward, but won't get there in time. It will fall. Blink, Hex, as well as the wards come down onto DK Phobos, but to little avail. He throws out the Doom onto Stallcat.
Wow.
The Shivas as well, but Scandal kind of throws him a bone with the Yules, and now he's on the back foot. I think he'll be okay.
Is real.
There is support inbound, and you know, XGame in kind of an odd position to get sandwiched if MVMI want to commit to this. Sand King around the tree line does have an ulti ready, and actually has that Veil of Discord recipe sitting in the bank at home. But nope, they won't go for it. Go back in kind of an awkward position here as he moves into the trees behind the old secret shop. But they won't find him as they move into the Ancients and head back towards the mid lane. So sort of an odd skirmish there, but no kills come out. But here we go. That's what they were waiting for. Wadafaka walks by, just gets dropped by the Skywrath. Oh my gosh, without the BKB, he falls just so quickly. Go Black, stuck inside of the Ice Path. Mantis comes forward. Mjolnir online, pops his Blade Mail, but just not enough damage to bring down Go Black. And it's all about creating space, because in the top lane, Scandal and Illidan take out the last remaining outer tower for XGame. They will press forward. Lycan is down, and, well, does have a buyback, but they're pressuring the base. That will draw back the forces of XGame, and the rest of NVMI will be able to make their escape.
Yeah, they still can't push in high ground because of the black hole, but yeah, it's just been an interesting string of events. These little fights here and there have had some mistakes on both sides, but the most notably, obviously, the prisons and the Yules that delay what damage was supposed to be there. It makes it the miscommunication really cost them kills, because it should be them driving forward momentum, putting out big CDs to kill people off, but giving away the Shadow Shaman freebie, then down at bottom, the Doom target was on the Jakiro, and he just gets to live through that perfectly fine too. But I guess if they had committed harder to that, they probably would have been in even a worse spot with all those reinforcements. So no matter the case, we'll see that die down. A really big kill and map control advantage to NVMI, but XGame aren't out of this one yet. I mean, they have some potential with a 9-second BKB on the Lycanthrope. The Wraith King obviously is putting out a lot of damage to that Mjolnir, but still looking for another one of those incredible black holes from Reeves.
Yeah, they're not out of it yet, but they are really up against the ropes here. A little bit of breathing room, and I think one more failed team fight, and their base will take some pretty crippling damage. It's a 25,000 gold, 20,000 experience lead for Team NVMI, and they're just waiting for that opportunity to catch one off guard and make it rain all over the base. Now we see a Veil of Discord out on the Sand King. That would be, is that a Veil coming out on the Skywrath too? He's just hanging on to a Helm of Iron Will. That's kind of interesting. Phobos now has a Skull Basher. Scandal, we've talked about his big item progression, but OD, he just picks up a Scotty. 2,300 hit points up on him. He's holding the gem, and he is just a beast right now.
Yeah, it's a really interesting pickup there, but obviously it gives him really good stats, and should be the interaction where it is considered a buff placer rather than an orb effect, so should be perfectly fine with the arcane. So a weird pickup indeed, but it works fine. Personally, I like to see refresh orbs come out, because then you can actually not only double ulti but double hex, which is really huge. But in this case, they just want to pack the punch and cause some havoc.
Yep. Mantis pops his Blade Mail, but there's the defensive Astral. That'll mitigate the damage output, and oh, just a cute little bit of synergy right there as the Exorcism flies. Creeps will get cleaned up, and the Exorcism actually won't do a hell of a lot here. Dire side don't have too much in the way of buybacks, just the supports, and really the Wraith King are it. So Scandal will get caught in an Ice Path, and a Macro Pyre gets force-stabbed forward. Another defensive Astral as Mantis pops his Blade Mail and presses forward. There's your Black Hole coming out, connects on two, but the Doom to follow up, and it won't be the best Black Hole we've seen. The Shadow Shaman falls, buys back right away. They lose their Wraith King, but there's the hammer dropped by Illidan, and the Dire team just getting crippled. Mantis will come back from his reincarnation. He takes a silence and taking heavy damage as well. Wadafaka eats a stun, and he may be a wolf, but he will fall. All the buybacks being expended, and this is the last stand for our Dire team. Ultra kill now out for Illidan, and could even be a rampage here as they continue to press out. Stallcat, one more auto attack, and he will fall. Force Staff keeps him alive a little bit longer. Crypt Swarm brings him down. There's the GG. Will we see the Rampage from Illidan? No, he gets stunned in the towers. He will go down, but they find vengeance as they kill the Wraith King off. And it's a 2-for-8 exchange, I believe, in that final fight. And NVMI with a pretty convincing win after 35 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah, some really good control across the board. Some great movement from Illidan in terms of defensive play, and they just use their cooldowns very effectively. I really like the sharing is caring aspect of Lil and Gobleck's movements in the early game, and Illidan certainly made the most of the fact that he was able to farm so drastically in his position in the early game. So really good movement as a team. A little bit of scattered stuff from X-Game. They didn't find what they were looking for the most part, and the Roshan just, it always came at a heavy cost. So in the end, they get pushed in, and well played to NVMI. We'll see if they can take that same momentum into later games.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was just game one of the day, guys. A nice warm-up, action-packed and quite exciting to watch. I'm all tongue-twisted. I need some more caffeine before we get into this big match coming up next because we have Alliance versus Empire. Then after that, it will be Alliance versus Team Tinker. An Alliance doubleheader today, folks. Stick around. The next match is scheduled to start in about 20 minutes, and we'll have a break, and then we'll have more Dota coming your way. I'm Zyori in the studio, joined remotely by Blaze, and we'll be back after this.